Hi guys, welcome to this tutorial. In this video I'm going to be structure tracking the source from the November 2020 exam. So this is the extract here with Rosie and the creepy house and the weird kid in the garden. Okay, that one. So again, I've talked to you about structure tracking before, so we're just going through your text and literally tracking the structural devices that you can see as you go through it. If you've not read this extract, you can kind of read it as we go along. I'm sure you can pause in particular ways. So I think that interestingly, the first thing that I noticed structurally that this writer uses is this incorporates this sense of ambiguity. It was on their first day at the house Rosie saw the stranger child. I think there's something interesting about it's the first day there, and then there's this ambiguous child out in the garden as it happens. So we get the introduction to Rosie as a character. We get the sense that she is tired and she's overwhelmed. She's a mum, her children are there kind of playing, but there's this ambiguous strange child, so it's an immediate sense of a slightly mysterious or unusual atmosphere is created, and that idea of first day in the house, you know, that she's in an unfamiliar environment as it stands. So then we get this, you know, image of the busy mum. We get her children playing and in very normal, sort of everyday normal play. We get the sense that perhaps Rosie is struggling to cope a little bit. She's clearly very tired when she talks about the trauma of the last few days. We get this image of perhaps the parent struggling to cope. And then the writer structurally is using repetition, this ambiguous reference to this other child. And then we get this sense of a setting change. The action moves into looking at the garden and describing the garden in quite an atmospheric way. Again, it's called an unfamiliar garden. This sense of it being overgrown and sort of, I don't know, neglected is sort of presented to us here. And then we know there will always be a change of focus because the bullet points say, you know, are always the same and they will always have that. So then we get the change of focus onto this little girl in the garden. We know that Rosie's own daughter Cara seems to ignore this child, and we then get this detailed description of a slightly unusual child, you know, contrasted with the kind of very normal sense of Rosie's children. This girl seems unusual. She seems to look quite strange. She looks older and more different. So we then get the writer uses sort of adopts some inner monologue with rhetorical questions, showing Rosie's kind of confusion, intrigue about this child, where she come from, what's she doing, and then we get more details, and Rosie really kind of making a connection between herself and the child, interestingly enough, and getting more sense about this girl's movements and just developing the sense of mystery through the slightly unusual behaviour of the child. And then towards the end here, we get this one-line paragraph. Always look to see if there's a sentence or a paragraph that's particularly short, because chances are then there is some real impact attached to that. Okay, then we get this sense of Rosie's sort of focus is slightly moved, but she has an intention to go and speak to this child, and then the mystery is maintained in this kind of conjunction sentence at the end. The child was gone, and so that mystery is maintained. Okay, so that's the structure tracking. I just want to show you then how I would sort of pull that together into a response. This is not a full response, this is probably half of a response, but I just take the tracking that I've just done and then I pull that together, going through from beginning through to that change of focus, looking for as many interesting structural elements as I can find. Remember, structural elements can be basic things such as middle, beginning, start, then next. So at the start, the writer uses ambiguity in order to create mystery. The stranger child sounds mysterious, and the fact that she was seen on their first day sets up the sense that she could be an unusual or even supernatural character, as both the house, garden and this child are unfamiliar to the family. So I'm giving references, I'm explaining effects, I am focusing on what the writer has put together here. The writer repeats references to the child, helping to develop and intensify the atmosphere of mystery. The writer uses the third person narrative to focus on Rosie's tiredness and the fact that she feels overwhelmed. So, the fact that she leaves her chores and goes into the unfamiliar garden suggests that the child has drawn Rosie to her. So, this effect of this. The writer uses a wild and almost enchanted setting to intensify the sense of mystery before changing the focus onto the little girl. The writer gives a detailed description of her appearance and includes the detail that Cara, Rosa's daughter, seemed unfazed by the girl. This leaves readers wondering whether she is perhaps a ghost unseen by everyone else. The writer then adopts inner monologue, deploying rhetorical questions to show that Rosie is confused and mystified by the girl. So, and again, as with other responses I've done, you don't necessarily need to write down full sentences. You know, I've just put the line reference that those rhetorical questions were seen on. So, as I said, this is about half of a response. It would get 8 out of 8 because I'm really tracking what has the writer done. You know, structure, we always think about the building blocks. How is a story being put together and built? You'll see there are quotes, but not zoomed in on. But I'm all the time thinking about the effect of those structural choices on us as readers. Okay, so I hope that structure tracking and this example were useful. What I'd suggest is that now you go back and try and finish off this structure question in the same style as I've produced here. Okay, thanks for watching.